Hello everyone, my name is Jordan and I am the head instructor at the Forest Heights location of World Champion Taekwondo. In case you don't know me, it is nice to meet you. In case you do know me, then hello. I'm here today to talk about a little bit more about what to expect from the World Champion Taekwondo Korea trip. I went on the 2025 summer Korea trip, and if my time allows, I might have the chance to attend the 2026 Korea trip as well. So, because we had to cancel our presentation, like our official meeting last weekend due to a low number of people wanting to attend the physical in-person meeting, I decided it might be best to just make a video for you guys to see what we're planning, and then that way you can have more time to plan yourselves. Without further ado, let's get started. So, as we go through my presentation, there are 6 main topics I want to hit. I just like to cover as much as possible, so I apologize if I talk a lot. I'm just very excited to share my experiences and hopefully answer your questions. The first thing is locations, so like where we're going. I cannot guarantee 100% that you will go to the exact same cities in the exact same order that we did, but this will give you like a general idea of where at least we got to go. The next thing is transportation and lodging, so like where we stayed, how we got there. Next is food. Oh my gosh, so much food stuff. The fourth thing is activities and tours. Same as locations. Can't promise it will be the same, but can give you some ideas of what to expect or what to think about that might occur. Next is all of the costs. So how much is it going to cost you and everything. And the last thing is like just other information that I think might be useful or helpful for you if you are thinking about or considering going on this trip. Let's do it. So first, locations. Where are we going? So glad we get asked. Yes. So first things first, you're going to arrive in Incheon, where the Korean National Airport is. When you arrive there, we're going to get straight on a bus, and we traveled straight to Muju, which is a small town kind of in the mountains, where they have this really cool training facility called Taekwondo-won. We got to stay there for 2 nights and 1 full day. I forgot to mention, the Korea trip lasts a total of 10 days, including flights and traveling, everything. 10 days long. So we stayed in Muju for 1 full day, 2 nights. So the night we arrive, and then 1 more night afterwards, and we left immediately. After that, we stayed for half of a day in Gwangju, and then we drove the rest of the way to Busan, which is a southern town in South Korea. So we're traveling from the top of the country to the bottom. It's very beautiful. It's on the ocean side. Wonderful place to be. After that, we stayed there for, I'd say, about 3 days? 3-ish, 4-ish days. Can't remember exactly, but we stayed there for a while. We traveled to Gwangju, where we got to visit some other cool places. And then we finished our trip back in Seoul at the top here. And we stayed there for the most number of days. I believe it was 5 days, 4 or 5 full days. And we left there as well. While we were in Seoul, we got to go up a little bit. It's hard to show on the map, but we got to go to a town called Yongin. And then we also got to visit the DMZ, which is like the border between North and South Korea. Then when we left, we flew out of Incheon again. Next is transportation and lodging. So the first thing to know is that when we go on this Korea trip, we must fly out of Seattle's International Airport. Now you might be thinking, like, why don't we fly out of PDX instead? It's much closer, it's more convenient. Well, in the past, like before COVID happened, before that hit, they did the Korea trip every year, and there was a group that was like flying from PDX to Seattle and then straight to Korea. But their PDX flight got delayed, so they missed their flight to South Korea. And you can imagine, we have a very tight schedule. Like, everything is very specific. It's prepaid, pre-planned, everything. So by missing that flight, they were like off by a day, and they had to skip a bunch of stuff and meet up with the group. It was like very complicated, huge disaster. So to avoid that, everyone must fly out of Seattle. Personally, I decided to carpool with a few other people, and I just parked my car in a long-term staying facility, and then we got to drive back when we returned. Other people had family drop them off, so do what you gotta do, but we're flying out of Seattle, so just be aware of that. When we arrived in Incheon, not Seoul, but Incheon, we got to go straight onto a VIP bus. We put all of our luggage there, and we drove straight to Muju, which took about 3 or 4 hours. Luckily, it was about nighttime. We were all really tired, so we just got to sleep. We also stopped for some delicious food, but as you can see, the bus is very nice. It has very nice lighting. The chairs are really nice. They dim the lights and everything, so you can sleep well. There's actually a TV that you can't see well at the front of the bus, and we got to watch K-pop demon hunters. And one day, me and Instructor Gillen, if you know Instructor Gillen from the Salzman location, got to sing karaoke songs from High School Musical, which was awesome. So the bus was really a party. They had like party lights, disco ball, everything. When we travel from various cities, we always travel by bus. And the nice thing is that you're assigned a bus at the beginning of the trip, and you get to remain on that bus for the entirety of the trip. So you'll get to know your bus driver, your tour guide, and the people you're riding with. So you can make some good friends. And then again, after we fly out of Incheon, not Seoul, Incheon, we'll return to Seattle, and then you'll have to return to Portland on your own. One thing to be cautious of, there were a few families that thought they would be smart and book a flight from Seattle back to Portland on their own. But Seattle Airport, what we found out is it kind of, no offense if you like Seattle Airport, but it kind of sucked. They were super behind. We didn't get our baggage for about 2 hours when we landed. So please plan, because they missed their flight. Luckily, it was the returning flight, not the flight to get there. But something to be aware of, if you're going to pay for like a connecting flight, I recommend doing it like that later that night or the night before, the night after, plan for that. Next is hotels and lodging. So we got to stay in a total of 4 different places. First was at Taekwondowon, and this is a training facility where people travel from around the country, around the world to learn about Taekwondo. And it's in the middle of the mountains. So this place is dormitory style rooming. So when you come inside, you can see you have some nice sandals, there's a refrigerator. Actually, our room had 4 twin beds in it, even though there was only 2 of us. It was a very nice training facility with a beautiful balcony, a beautiful view. The only thing to note is that for the bathroom situation here, you'll see that there's like 1 glass door to the toilet, 1 glass door to the shower. And I was staying with a teenager. So there were some times when we were taking a shower, we felt a little awkward, kind of hard to get your clothes. So I just recommend, if you're not staying with your family member or something, please be aware of that. You might need to communicate, but it's really not that bad. Just something to be aware of. Next, we stayed in Busan, and when we were in Busan, we got to stay in a 5-star hotel. All of the hotels you stay in are 5 stars. They're extremely amazing. This one was called Paradise Hotel. It was right on the beachfront, so when you went out the back doors, it was like the beach was right there. There was a great city view. These night views and this day view are from our balcony, from our room. They had amazing free buffet breakfast that was included, and it was just generally a great location. Every morning, me and my roommate would go for a walk at 6 or 7 a.m. when we couldn't go back to sleep, and then we'd come get some breakfast and walk around some more. It was very beautiful. This was our next hotel called Lotte Hotel, which is in Seoul. We stayed here for a total of 3 nights. It's a 5-star hotel. Again, it's really close to the Lotte World Mall. There's an amazing lobby. There's lots of floors you can kind of explore, and there's even a 7-Eleven inside the building. So if you want to go to a convenience store, you don't even have to go outside. Plus, it's close to everything, which was really nice. And actually, we got to stay in one more hotel just for the last night of our trip, just because it was closer to our airport, and we wanted to be able to, not our airport, excuse me, it was closer to another place we were traveling to on our last day before we went to the airport. It was very nice, but again, the bathroom situation was kind of funny. It was kind of an open layout, so again, the shower and the toilet both had that open, kind of there's a door, but if you want to go outside, if you're not taking your stuff into the shower, then you need to communicate a little bit with your roommate, unless it's your family, in which case it's probably fine. Okay, next is food. So a few things to note about the food. All of the food is included in the total price of the Korea trip itself. So at the hotels, they all had a free, I guess it's technically not free, but it's included in the cost of going to the hotel, buffet style breakfast. The really nice thing was the 5-star hotels all have American and Korean style food. So for example, some mornings I really wanted eggs and bacon and some toast, but I also wanted some kimchi and japchae. So you can kind of get a mix of both, or dumplings and pastries. You can get everything really. The one place to note is at Kukkiwon, the Taekwondo training facility. It is not a 5-star hotel. So the only food they have there while you're staying there, again, we're only there for 1 full day, is Korean food. So please be aware if you have a child or you yourself have some special food needs, if you're a pickier eater, make sure you pack some snacks, some safe foods, just so that you have something to eat and you're not overwhelmed or stressed about that. The next thing is when we go to restaurants as a group, everything is pre-ordered and prepaid for. Again, it's included in the total cost of the trip. So, for example, we would arrive at a restaurant, all of the food would already be laid out at our table. We don't have to wait at all. You can just sit down and start eating. And if you've finished all of your food, like you were still hungry, you could just tell someone and they would just bring you more. They'd bring you as much as you wanted. And other things, there are lots of places to stop and visit. There was lots of street food options, convenience stores, cafes, restaurants, places you could go to in your free time when we had it. I went to so many cafes and just got like different kinds of lattes. My favorite was the dalgona latte, even though it's very sugary and not good for you at all. And then also like there's a lot of street food, which you have to pay mostly cash for, so that's something to be aware of. So you can find all sorts of stuff like tteokbokki, so spicy rice cake, hotteok, which is like a really sweet cake with like this filling, like all sorts of stuff, dumplings, fish cakes, lots of options. So food was amazing. I have some photos. So our first night we went to this place on our way after we arrived at the airport. I don't remember his name. I think it's Shibu something I can't promise, but basically it's like it's almost like hot pot, but it's a little bit different. This food down at the bottom left corner is what it looked like at the Taekwondo buffet. So there was lots of stuff. There's kimbap, like traditional seaweed rolls, samgyeopsal, so pork belly, kimchi, rice, japchae, which is glass noodles. They had some stir-fried squid, they had some salmon, they had some chicken, they had all sorts of stuff, but it was mostly Korean food. Up at the top here, you can see one of the places we went, like a restaurant. And again, everything's laid out. They had all types of stuff for you to try. There was like mackerel, kimchi jjigae, like stew, tofu, pickled stuff, fried stuff. You know, they had bosam and like wraps, which is like a boiled meat that you can put inside vegetables. They had so many things for you to try. It was amazing. Again, this bottom picture in the middle is another buffet we went to. They actually had American style food, but this is what some of the Korean style looks like. I made my own bibimbap, which is like veggies with rice that you mix, and I got a bunch of other random stuff I wanted to try. And up here in the top right corner, you can see like what my breakfast looked like on one of the days at the 5-star hotels. I got some bacon, some kimchi, some eggs, some rice, dumplings, you know, bulgogi. They actually had fried beef there. And then at the bottom, you can see like one night I went to a bar with my boyfriend and some friends, and we got some Korean fried chicken with some French fries. So there was a lot of everything. Other days included food like jjajangmyeon, which is a black bean noodle, which is, oh my god, it's one of my favorite things ever. I probably ate 3 bowls of this stuff because I just kept ordering it. And then at the bottom, you can see some of our soups we got, really delicious. One day I got to travel by myself. So one of the restaurants I went to with my friends who live in Korea was a pork belly, like a barbecue place. So we got some pork belly, we got some naengmyeon, which is like cold noodles that are delicious. Up here in the corner, I got some bingsu, which if you have the chance to try is amazing. Actually, if you need recommendations here in Portland, I know some places as well. It's like Korean shaved ice with condensed milk and fruit toppings or whatever you want. And then, of course, I went to many coffee shops and cafes to get some coffee and some pastries because I love them. The next thing to consider is the activities and the tours. So again, I can't promise that you'll do the same exact activities or tours that we did, but I can give you a general idea of like what we did. So one thing to note is that the days are kind of long and they are booked with activities. Like it's 10 days of stuff. You're not just going on your own vacation. If you want to go like, you know, explore by yourself at your own slow pace and just like kind of wander, you should book your own vacation. This is not that kind of trip. This is a trip where you're exploring, you're going to like many different places and experiencing different things to have such an enriching, you know, comprehensive trip in South Korea. We started by training at taekwondo facilities in Taekwondowon, and at the end of our trip, we got to train at a place called 한국체육대학교, which is the Seoul National Sports University. Actually, this is a university for only the top of the top athletes in South Korea. Grandmaster Kim went there, and his coach, who trained him during the Olympics, is actually the like, dean, or I guess like the highest guy of the university, and we got to meet him, which was super cool. The next thing we got to do a lot of was like shopping, and we had time for our own self-exploration. We got to see this really cool taekwondo performance called Jump, where these amazing taekwondo athletes kind of performed this storyline without any dialogue, and it was just super enjoyable, not only for the kids, but like I was having so much fun, and so were all of the other adults. And then we went to some other things like Sky Tower and other attractions in the city. So these are some photos from Taekwondo 1, the training facility. We got to take a private class with Master Jung here. She was amazing. She's a Pumse athlete, so she taught us a Pumse class regardless of our belt. It's me and my boyfriend, me and Grandmaster Kim. Overall, it was a great training opportunity. This is the Seoul Sky Tower, which is one of the tallest buildings in the world. We got to go all the way to the top in a really fancy elevator and then just kind of explore it for however long we wanted to. And then when we were finished, we could leave and explore on our own. This is the Seoul National Sports University, where we got to train with the top of the top athletes. You can see like all of them here in the back. They're so tall. I got to make a lot of friends here. It was such a cool opportunity to train with them and to speak with them. A lot of them didn't speak English, but like for me that was okay. I've studied Korean, I speak Korean, so I got to make a lot of friends. And we got to train with an Olympian herself, Master Oh. She's amazing and she was super kind, so she led our class. And the cool thing about this experience is actually this university never does tour groups or gives private classes like this. It's only for the top athletes. But because Grandmaster Kim, is like a high-ranking graduate from this university, they made the time and they gave us this private experience, which was so cool. Next is tours. We went on a lot of tours. I don't even know if I listed them all, but first we went to a place called 국립 경주 박물관, which is the Gyeongju National Museum. We went to a couple Buddhist temples. One was called 불국사, another was called 행동영궁사. Then we went to a traditional village in Busan called Kamcheonmaul, which is famous for its very colorful buildings. When we were staying in Seoul, we got to go up to Yongin and visit Hanguk-Minseokjeon, which is like a very beautiful folk village that's like a timestamp from the Joseon dynasty, which is really cool. We got to go to Gyeongbokgung, which is like a huge traditional palace in Seoul, and we got to wear hanbok, traditional clothing. I'll show you some pictures. And then we got to go to the DMZ, at the border of North and South Korea, and we also got to visit Gukyeon. So these are some pictures from the museum that we got to visit, which was amazing. We had the opportunity to follow our tour guides who kind of explained a lot of the history of the artifacts and such. And then we also got to explore on our own, which was a really great opportunity for some of us who were like, we wanted some background and then we also wanted our chance to explore in our own way. These are some photos from Bulguksa Temple. It was really beautiful. If you're interested in Buddhism at all, it was really, or if you are a Buddhist, it was a very beautiful opportunity to visit the temple where they worship. And even if you aren't, it was just so cool. Everything has a purpose, like the number of stairs, the type of bridges there are, the colors of things, like everything has a purpose. And there's like an entrance, that you're entering the nirvana. There's a lot of really cool stuff that you get to see at this temple. This was Haedong-yeongjungsa, another temple, which is also known as the most beautiful temple in Korea. And again, we got to visit here. They had a really cool golden Buddha that you could wash with this water to kind of wash your worries away. You could see some monks working and like doing their daily activities, like people who live in around the temple. And there was also a lot of really cool street vendors, so I got to buy some really cool bracelets and stuff like that. This was Kamcheonmaul, so the traditional village in Busan, and it's known for its very famous colorful buildings, like Allok buildings. Also, they have like this really cool stuff with the story, like the Little Prince and the Fox. So they have like this little map that's kind of like not a treasure hunt, but kind of like a little thing, like a little hunt you can go find them. So we got to explore here. There was also a lot of really cool vendors that made handcrafted stuff. I got to meet a lot of really beautiful elderly people who made handmade bags. This woman who crocheted these really intricate dolls from hand. And the thing to note about this place is if you like to shop, if you think you're going to be someone who likes to get trinkets, make sure you have cash on you because most of these places only accept cash. Next, we have the Yongin traditional village. Again, all the buildings are preserved from the dynasty that they were built in. They had really cool productions and shows you could see. We got to see some musicians perform pansori, which is like traditional Korean folk music. And then at the top here, you can see me spanking my boyfriend Ung with a really huge pillar and Grandmaster Kim running away because he was the one who helped me spank him. This was like a traditional consequence, not a torture device, but it was like, town punishment. And they would like whack you with these wooden sticks. So, and then also down here, you can also see an area where they would do punishments and the king would sit in the center, which was really cool to see. This is Gwangbok Hangbokgung? Yeah, the palace in Seoul. So you can see me and this is a picture with me and all the teenagers and one mom and her son, all wearing our traditional hanbok. So we got to travel through the palace, wearing our clothes, me and instructor Gillen over here, and me and my student Mariana. Like, we just got to wear hanbok for the day, and we got to pick it out ourselves. Last, this is Kukyuan, which is the World Taekwondo headquarters. We got to take a group photo, explore, meet the president of Kukyuan, and explore their Taekwondo museum, which, of course, has a picture of Grandmaster Kim, as he is a very famous person in the world of Taekwondo. And we also had the opportunity to view some masters that were joining like a master's seminar for international masters, which was also a really cool experience. The next topic I want to hit is the costs. I'm sure that's like one of the main things you're focused on. So the total cost of the Korea trip is about $5,000 per person. Sometimes it can vary up to $5,500. It depends on flight costs, like hotels, things like that. There is an additional $100 per person that you need to bring in cash. So for example, I was in a party of 2, so we brought $200. If you're a party of 4, you'll bring $400. This money is for a tip for the drivers and the tour guides. Korea is not a tipping country. You do not need to tip for food, for travel, for anything like that. However, with these large tour groups, it can be very taxing, and like a way to show support is for us to tip them. Okay, so the first half of your payment is due usually by the end of December. This is because Grandmaster Kim and his traveling agency have to purchase tickets by January. This is to make sure that families can sit together, we all get on the same flight, and that we can all, function as a group and travel together. The remaining payments usually are due in January, February, March, but again, we'll contact you and give you specific details about how much and when those would be due. The cost includes the flights to and from South Korea, all transportation on all of the buses, all of the hotels, the training facilities and such, all of the food everywhere, the restaurants that we eat at as a group, our buffets, everything like that, and all the activities and tours that we go on. Things that you might want to consider, or costs that are not included. So like shopping costs. If you're someone like me, actually I bought these glasses and another pair of glasses in Korea. It took them 30 minutes to make them, and the total cost for both of them was less than $300 USD. So if you need tips about that, let me know, because I can help you out there. Additional food and drinks. So sometimes when we're in the groups at the restaurants, drinks, like if you want a beer, if you want a soda, are not included. So you'll have to make that purchase on your own. It's very cheap, but it's still something to consider. Also, if you're going out at a night market, or if you're exploring the street and you want to buy a snack or something, again, you're going to have to pay with your own pocket. Most night markets are cash only, so you can buy art, cool trinkets, souvenirs, stuff like that. A lot of those are cash only. The other thing to consider is currency exchange. Some people did it at the airport, but they have a high exchange rate. So a lot of us just got it at ATMs in hotels, or you can also get it from your bank in America, like the US, before you leave. But usually the hotels help a lot. One day I was trying to get some cash from an ATM at a 7-Eleven. It wasn't working with my card. So I talked to the concierge at the front, and they happened to have an ATM in the basement. So they were able to help me get my cash needs. Next, or I guess last, other information to just be aware of. So teens that are traveling alone will be rooming with an adult. So for example, me and my boyfriend traveled together, but I had a student who was a teen, and there was another male student who needed a partner. So we decided to split, and we stayed with the teenagers. So they have to room with an adult just to make sure that they're safe. We are in another country. We want to make sure that they're safe, happy, and healthy. And they will be required to check in with their roommate or with their master or a teacher, if necessary, at night. And we're setting a curfew for about 11 p.m. We'll verify that, but just to make sure people are safe in their rooms. Over the summer, there were some times where the teens kind of got together really late, and then they were really tired. They went to bed at 2 or 3 in the morning. They're teenagers. And then, we're getting up at 6 or 7 a.m. and they're very tired. We don't want anybody to oversleep or get stuck somewhere. So for that reason, we will be issuing probably a curfew for those teenagers by themselves, just so that they're in their room. It's okay if they're doing something, just need to be in their room. And also some people were worried they're not coming with their family. Will they be included? Yes, everybody is family. We're traveling for so much time together that it's yeah, we just accept everyone as our family, and it's a great bonding experience. They will not be left out. Cultural differences, as traveling with any country, there are different like levels of respect that are required. So one thing I noticed over this trip is like we went to a fish market, and a fish market can be gross and it can be shocking for some people, but some people were very outwardly upset about the fish market or saying that it was really gross. So just be mindful of the things you're saying. Another thing is like when we're moving, we're a huge group, so be cautious. Like, are you blocking an entire sidewalk or an entire street? Are you screaming really loudly and distracting or disturbing other people? Actually, I'm very proficient in Korean. I've studied it for 7 to 8 years now. So when we were there were a few times I overheard people saying some very negative, unhappy things towards us. So and towards me, like I have a lot of tattoos and I upset a couple old ladies until they realized I could speak Korean. So it's just something to be like, cautious of like how you're presenting yourself. The next thing, we're in taekwondo, so we know bowing is respectful, but it goes a long way just to show thank you. You don't need to say 안녕하십니까. You can say 안녕하세요, and you can say 감사합니다 for thank you, and people really appreciate it. In most places, you can find someone who speaks English, especially in the hotels. I mean, the tour guides all speak English, the masters speak English. Like, you can find people to help you. So don't let that be something that holds you back. There is like, the language barrier is not a problem at all. And the last thing I mentioned before is like the food is different. So if you are someone in your family is like a picky eater or has food sensitivities, texture sensitivities, please be prepared and bring some of those safe foods. The last 3 things to consider, again, if you like to shop, bring an extra suitcase. Personally, I brought 3. I bought a big one, I bought a medium one, and I brought a carry-on. And I filled all of those guys up, plus my backpack. So I was prepared and I used everything. There are many malls and shopping centers that actually offer discounts if you have your passport and you show. They basically take away the taxes that they tax towards Korean citizens and they give you a discount. So that's really nice to know. Bathrooms are sometimes an interesting situation. Like, it's hard to find public bathrooms. Sometimes you need to ask for directions. So if you're someone like me who might need to use the restroom frequently, just be prepared, ask someone for help, and they will help you find it. But they're usually not easy to find. The next thing is that there are very few outdoor public trash cans, similarly to like Japan. So if you have trash, you need to hold on to it. You throw it away at the hotel. They usually have a trash sack on the bus. You can throw it away in like a store, but outdoor trash cans are very rare. Like, I barely saw any while we were there. Be prepared for very busy days. It's a packed but fun schedule. Every day has like a list of things we're doing, and they'll give that to you as we get closer to the actual trip. Like in the spring, we do another meeting. They'll give you an actual packet with the exact itinerary so that you know what to expect. But just be prepared. Again, there's a lot of stuff, and it's super fun, and it is so worth it. There is one day that's like a free day. You can do whatever you want. I rode the subway by myself, and I went to Gangnam, visited some friends, got some barbecue, did some karaoke. So like, you can plan to do some of your own stuff, but like, you'll have to plan it on a specific day. And the last thing is that there are some occasional long car rides since we're going from the top of the country to the bottom, and there might be minimal bathroom breaks, as how road trips are. So just be aware of that, especially if you bring your kids along, which I hope you do, because all of the kids had a blast and it was so worth it. Okay, sorry for talking fast. I wanted it to be less than 30 minutes and it's like 28 minutes. Of course, I'm not in person, so if you have any questions, I would love to answer them. You can reach out to me directly at the email that's listed below, wct.forestheights@gmail.com. But of course, you can also talk to Master Sue or Master Lee. I think it's just best to contact me because I'm the one who is on the most recent trip, and I have the highest probability of going on the next trip. Thank you so much for watching my video, and again, I'm sorry that it is so long, but it's greatly appreciated, and I really hope that you consider going on this trip because it is such an incredible experience, and you make such good relationships with people that you would have never met otherwise. Again, if you have questions, please reach out, but otherwise, thanks for sitting through my presentation. Goodbye!